response to the gentlelady from California's comments about overcrowding in prisons in California, I'd suggest California build some more prisons. I don't know if you've been to San Francisco recently, but it's a pit. And it's a pit because you have criminals running around that aren't in prison. And to suggest that somehow law enforcement or the prisons are at fault for, or this legislation is at fault for recognizing the fact that we have ambiguity around crimes of violence and we need to take criminals, violent criminals, off the streets and put them behind bars, I think is a mistake. I commend the chairman for making sure we clarify this law and we deal with the ramifications of what the Supreme Court has done. I have been in law enforcement for years, and the reason that we now have, or at least up until recently, we had a declining rate of violent crime in this country was because we built more prison beds, we had mandatory sentences, and we took dangerous people and repeat criminals off the streets. We are going to see, as a result of liberal policies in this country, an increase in violent crime. And I challenge any member of the other side of the aisle to talk to those victims and explain to those victims why they are now victims of crime as a result of the repeat offenders and violent criminals being back on the street. I understand it takes a lot of tax dollars to incarcerate a human being. I also understand that if you are a victim of crime, if you're a victim of that burglary, if you're a victim of that assault, it takes a lot of dollars to overcome that. And so we are disproportionately putting people in low-income areas at risk as a result of misguided policies about crime. And it happens throughout our country's history. Since the early 1900s, every time crime goes down, we have a bunch of people that feel bad for those poor criminals that are being incarcerated, and we let them out early, and we stop building prison cells, and we see an increase in crime. And that's what we're seeing right now, is an increase in violent crime, and we're going to see it for the next decade until the American people rise up again and demand that their elected officials do something. And if you want to deal with crime, I was in law enforcement for 25 years. If you want to deal with crime, deal with the poor education system in California. Deal with the other, deal with the single-parent families who are raising children in California. Don't blame law enforcement and don't blame the Bureau of Prisons or other officials for having to deal with the effects of our society being broken. And I am, as a law enforcement official, I take it very personally that we have unfortunately placed blame in the wrong areas. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank